Hello, everybody. I'm Carolina Diaz Quijano. I'm Director of Technical Services for Omya, and I will present you today Omya Nutra 300. This is a functional ingredient. It's going to help bringing into tablets ingredients that we have heard in other forums, and I will explain you why. It's a technology that is patented by Omya, and starting from a high purity natural calcium carbonate, there's a precipitation of calcium phosphate around the particles. And the idea is that we obtain in the end a porous particle. So about 80% porosity. And this new particle is going to have, this porosity is going to give the features that it will need to be successful in the applications that I will present next. These particles are composed of calcium carbonate and 3-basic calcium phosphate. They are highly porous, as I said. They have this lamellar structure on the outside. And although they are minerals, they have a plastic behavior. And this is because you can see that the walls are very thin and they can bend. I'm going to use my hands. They can bend very, very well and only break when a lot of pressure is applied to them. And when they break, what they do is they generate a lot of surface contact, and this surface contact is generating very hard and very stable compactates, right? Very stable tablets. As we discussed, it's mineral composition and is generally regarded as safe substances, right? The components are very well known to the food industry: calcium carbonate and 3-calcium phosphate. So one of the applications that it can do, it can bring liquids into powder form. So we heard certain actives are very hard to manipulate. Either they are extract, they are oily, and they are very hard to bring into a tablet form in order to produce supplements. And that's where Omya Nutra can help. It has a high absorption capacity thanks to the porosity. At the same time, it can still be compacted. Even whatever is left from the porosity can still be compacted and used to make very stable tablets. It has a very cost-efficient loading method because it can be done by impregnation. The particles are porous, so they act as little sponges. If you put them in contact with a liquid, they will just take up the liquid. And it's a mineral, calcium carbonate, and 3-basic calcium phosphate, so it does not really retain moisture. The moisture is not available to compromise the stability of an active, for example. This is just to show the flexibility of the loading, and that it can load up to about 60% of liquids total weight, depending on the viscosity of the liquid. Compared to other ingredients that are used for this purpose as a carrier to load ingredients, it performs much better in terms of absorption compared to, for example, other minerals like the calcium phosphate or 3-calcium phosphate or lactose that are used as carriers. The next application, the second application that I want to discuss, is about fast dispersible tablets. These are tablets that we put in our mouth and they disperse very fast. And they are normally used because of convenience. And they can help us, for example, if we're taking some relaxant at night and we have it by the table, we just put it in our mouth and it will disintegrate very quickly and help with the intake, or while we are exercising without the need of taking water. And why is Omya Nutra helping in this is because what I was saying before, this porosity that breaks and makes these very hard compactates combines two things that are unique in the industry, which is making very hard tablets that disintegrate very fast. And this is because the tablets, when they are compacted, the particles, they are generating all these contact points that make these very hard compactates. But since there is no polymer, there is no glue in between them, as soon as there's water coming in through the pores, the particles will disperse very, very fast. And this is something that is very attractive for a dispersible tablet. Here is a compaction diagram in which we show the force that we have to do in order to provide in order to make the tablets against the hardness. And we can see that in yellow, it's Omya Farm. We can use very low forces and achieve very hard compactates. And at the same time, if we check disintegration time versus hardness, we can see that it's independent. It doesn't matter how hard the tablet it is. In yellow, we can see the different hardnesses, and we can see that it doesn't really change the disintegration time, while it does for other ingredients that are other platforms that are used in fast dispersible tablets. So as take-home messages, Omya Nutra 300 is a micron-sized structured mineral. As I said, it's a patented technology. It's not a blend of 3-calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate. It's really a precipitation of the calcium phosphate on top of the calcium carbonate, which makes this porosity. That is what is needed for the high absorption capacity for loading and being used as a carrier for oily actives, for example. And also this porosity is what's going to help the fastest integration and the hard compactates for these orally dispersible tablets. If you have any questions, I am available here.
Thank you, Carolina. Miriam, do you have any questions or comments?
I think it is quite an interesting ingredient. I guess my question would be maybe similar to what it was presented before. I think it might be quite helpful, especially because at some point, I guess you're going to talk to this product, to this ingredient, someone who are not very technical, have some maybe examples how it can be used. So you say it can be used to bring liquids into powder forms. Which sort of liquids might be useful? I guess maybe, I don't know, things like maybe your vitamin D's or some omega. So I think that would really help a lot of your potential clients to understand
certainly
how can be used. And then maybe, again, I'm not a very technical person, but when you're talking about it was really interesting graph about the harness, but I guess maybe people that are more from the manufacturer side, and I'm sure you'll have probably a massive list of all the machines that can be used. I guess that will be something that they will be very interested, because I understand that different machines will have different types of requirements. So again, I think having that information at hand will be quite useful when you're talking to people about their interest. But yeah, I could see it could be a very interesting ingredient for many potential solutions.
So we have available a formulation handbook in which we show examples of tablets that can be used with this ingredient. So for example, mint oil would be something, for example, just to give an example that comes out in my head. And then, of course, we have all the data for generating these hard compactates that are very important in order to resist packaging, right? For example, or transportation. Sometimes it happens when you're doing an extract, plant extract tablet, where we need to feed a lot of this plant extract, and it's not generally the extract that would keep into a hard compactate. You put it into a nice bucket, but in the way it will break, right? And that's not the idea. The idea is that it reaches the consumers in a stable form to be able to provide the dosage that you actually intended.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, again, I would mirror what Miriam said, but my other we use a lot of calcium carbonate, but as a source of calcium. So just to understand, you're not proposing this as a increased bioavailable source of calcium, but simply as a carrier for oily substances, or to create these fast melt tablets.
Exactly. So this is more like a functional ingredient. We have, of course, in our portfolio ingredients for calcium absorption, for enhanced calcium absorption as well. But this technology is particularly used from the functional point of view.
But with it being
yes.
calcium carbonate, would it not provide a source of calcium, particularly if used in relatively high volume in the product? And would we maybe not have to include that on the nutritional information?
Sure, potentially you could, but it's used mainly for the technical purposes. At least for the customers that we have so far, that have been using it as a carrier, for example, they have really used it as a carrier and they have not really claimed the calcium, but potentially it would be possible, yes.
Thank you. And Ryan, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the presentation. And I think the answer to your last question sort of quite nicely goes into this question. So where are you seeing the biggest uptake for this ingredient at the moment, and what sort of particular channels?
You mean like where is the interest coming
So which sort of particular categories of product?
So at the moment, we are seeing that there's a need for replacing some carriers. There are a lot of carriers that are considered nanoparticles or that they are functionalized with nanoparticles, and this is bringing a lot of issues in the market from the consumer perspective, but also regulatory-wise. So we see a lot of customers that come to us with requests of, okay, I need a high absorption capacity with an ingredient that is not really nano. And because this one is a micron-sized ingredient, it really helps their current issues. And that's where we are seeing clearly, yes, because the fast dispersible tablets is clearly a market that is for convenience, and it's nice to have as a marketing tool in your portfolio to have this type of products. But there's no regulatory pool, there's no consumer pool, right? But in the case of replacing nano, yeah, definitely there is.
Okay, and then just to follow on from that, and this is purely more from a formulation perspective, I think, and specifically sports nutrition. So a lot of pre-workout powders can be very hygroscopic, and that can sort of cause real issues, particularly sort of clumping in the tubs. So could this ingredient, or maybe even any other ingredient that you have, sort of help with avoiding that powder clumping whilst in a powder format?
Yeah, we do have a range of ingredients that help with the anti-caking and the flow of powders, whether it be real innovations, like in this case, these new technologies, or whether it is calcium carbonate used as an anti-caking agent. And we do have a lot of data in protein powders and so on that can help our customers use these ingredients. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.